Learning topic, absolute value. The absolute value of a real number is the distance between x and 0 on the number line. And the symbol for absolute value is the absolute value vertical bars with the x inside. Now remember, x could also be an expression, so we've got to make sure that we're keeping our mind open there. Reminder, because we're going to need this again today, a real number is any positive or negative number that has value and can be expressed on a number line. So now we're going to jump into absolute value and look at both the definition and the application when we're letting x be a real number. So if x is a real number, then the absolute value of x is given as, notice I'm using braces, x if x is greater than or equal to 0, but it is equal to the negative of x if x is less than 0. So a few notes that you want to take is, what does this mean? So this means that if x is a positive number or 0, then the absolute value of x is equal to x itself. Again, this is if x is positive or x is 0. But the absolute value of x is equal to negative x, which is the opposite of x. And this is true if x is negative. So if x is a negative number, then the absolute value of x is the opposite of x. And so we're going to actually take that definition when we're going to apply it to this problem right here. So how to use the definition of absolute value to write an equivalent expression for the absolute value of the square root of 2 minus 2. So the first thing we're going to examine is the square root of 2 minus 2, because this is what is inside our absolute value symbols. So we need to know, is this positive or is it negative? Because we need to know, is this going to just be the absolute value of x equals x? That's going to be true if this is positive. Or is it going to be the absolute value of the inside being the opposite of the inside if it's negative? So this is what we're trying to figure out. How are we going to handle this? So we need to know what the square root of 2 actually is. So the square root of 2 is approximately, and you can verify this on your calculator. I always encourage you to do that. It is approximately 1.4. It is less than 2. Which means the square root of 2 minus 2, since 2 is greater, is going to be less than 0. It is negative, which means we now know we're going to be using this situation right here. So we're going to use this rule and say, well, then that means that the absolute value of the square root of 2 minus 2 is equal to the negative of the quantity of the square root of 2 minus 2. Notice I used parentheses there because that means I have to take the negative of both. And if I take the negative of both, that's going to give me the negative of radical 2 plus 2. And another way we could write that is 2 minus the square root of 2. So you're going to extend this for homework. You're going to use the definition of absolute value to simplify the expression n plus the absolute value of n if you are told that n is greater than or equal to 0. So that means it's either positive or equal to 0. And if you're struggling with the first question, think about what maybe you could do to get yourself started. So make sure you always think about your resources and push yourself. Don't give up. And then you're going to have a second question, and it's the same exact question, but this time it is when n is less than 0, and that is meaning our number is negative.